Hey everybody, Miguel Maravilla here from FightNews.com and SouthernCaliforniaBoxing.com. It is Thursday, June the 4th, 2020. There is lots to talk about today. We have boxing. Boxing's officially back. Yes, boxing's officially back this weekend. I know that's been the rant here for the last month or so that boxing is back. Boxing is back this weekend, and instead we've been having cancellations. But there's that to talk about. We also have, much more to talk about, including Floyd Mayweather, as well as all this chaos that's going on today. That's been going on for the last 2 3 days. But with that, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna talk boxing. So, as I mentioned, boxing returns this weekend. We have a pay-per-view card slated this weekend in Michoacan, Mexico. That will be King Carlos Promotions. He will be taking on Michi Munoz. Yes, that's going to take place. It's a 10 round middleweight fight. Um, Molina, of course, he's a former world champion. He'll be taking on El Matador Munoz with a record of, let's, Molina, he has a record of, like as I mentioned, former world champion, 31-11-2 with 10 knockouts. He's taking on El Matador Michi Munoz, Mexican veteran of León, Mexico, with a record of 27-10-1 with 18 knockouts. The co-feature will be Alejandro Davila, 19-1, 2 draws with 7 knockouts. He's taking on Nestor La Chispa Garcia with a record of 23-20. The undercard also features Jair Valtierra, 10-0, 5 knockouts, taking on Loco Aurelio Hernandez. Also in that card, there will be Elio Germán Rafael with a record of 15-3, 9 knockouts. He's taking on Cristian Martin Medina Garcia in a 4 round bout. This this card will take place in Michoacan, Mexico. It'll uh, it'll actually be streamed on Facebook, Fight Night Live, and King Carlos Promotion Facebook pages for only $5. So that'll be this Saturday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific, and it'll be a Spanish broadcast. So not bad, for $5, and you get all these fights. Hey, why not? You have nothing to do this weekend, this Saturday. There's no live sports, if I'm not mistaken. So go ahead and tune into that. So that takes place this Saturday. King Carlos Promotions, live from Michoacan, Mexico. So moving forward, I believe there's also a card this Friday. That's not streamed or televised. That'll be taking place in Houston, Texas. So more info coming shortly. Also, regarding Top Rank Boxing, they're officially back in action next week. Isn't that exciting? Yes. Uh, that'll be televised live on ESPN. That'll take place at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. So June 9th, we have Shakur Stevenson, WBO featherweight champion. He's taking on Felix Caraballo. And then we also have on the undercard, actually the co-feature will be the lovely Michaela Meyer, 12-0 with 5 knockouts. She's taking on Helen Joseph. So that's slated to take place next week, June 9th. June 9th. And also June 11th, that's the fall, 2 days after, we have former super bantamweight world champion Jesse Magdaleno. He's taking on Yenifil Vicente, as well as Adam Lopez, who is coming off a solid performance against former world champion Oscar Valdez. He'll be taking on Luis Correa. Now, on to more details regarding The June 9th card. June 9th, as I mentioned, that'll feature Shakur Stevenson taking on Caraballo. Let's um let's talk about that undercard. On that undercard, I mentioned the you know Shakur Stevenson and Caraballo. We also have, as I mentioned, Michaela Meyer and Helen Joseph. There will be more action, of course, on that undercard. We have undefeated knockout Jared, the real Big Baby Anderson of Toledo, Ohio. He's taking against Johnny Langston, 8-2 with 3 knockouts. Uh, Jared Anderson, he's 3-0 with 3 knockouts, and he was Tyson Fury's main sparring partner as Fury was preparing for Wilder, and you all saw the results. So Fury benefited from that sparring with the real Big Baby Anderson. So he'll be featured on that card. We also have 2016 Italian Olympian Guido Vianello, 6-0 with 6 knockouts. He'll take on Don Hainsworth, 16-3-1 with 14 knockouts in a 6-rounder. Then we have two-time Cuban Olympic gold medalist Robesi Ramirez. He'll be taking on Yeuri Andujar. And then we also have in a either depending either a 4-round or 6-round middleweight bout between Calvin Metcalf and Quantavio Cash. So that takes place June 9th at the MGM. Once again, this will be taking place at the ballroom at one of the conference centers, not at the main arena. Again, no fans are allowed to attend, neither is media. So I'll be doing that report here from this studio, office, whatever we want to call it. So then 2 days later, we have, of course, Jesse Magdaleno taking on Yennefiel Vicente in a 10-rounder. Then we also have the co-feature Adam Lopez versus Luis Correa. The undercard will feature Central Valley's Brian Lua, 5-0 with 2 knockouts. He's returning after a 2-year layoff. He's taking on Dan Murray in a 6-round lightweight bout. Also, we have IE prospect Gabriel Murataya in an Empire bantamweight. He's 2-0 with 2 knockouts. He will be making his 2020 debut against Fernando Robles. And undefeated California lightweights, Egric Mondragon, 3-0 with 2 knockouts. He'll take on Mike Sanchez, 6-0 with 2 knockouts. So that should be a pretty good, some 2 solid cards taking place next week. We'll have more predictions, more analysis next week prior to those fights. But for now, we're going ahead and just giving you the info. And as I mentioned, Top Rank has their full lineup. They'll be featured. They'll be hosting events at MGM Grand for the month of June. In June, let's so props to Top Rank for returning. They've been adamant to returning. It's been a long layoff. You have fighters that are just sitting around, waiting around, in camp, training, just waiting for that call to start back up, to just be ready for battle. So we talked about June 9th and 11th and some upcoming Top Rank programming on ESPN. We have June 16th. We have Joshua Greer, 22-1, 12 knockouts. He'll be taking on Filipino Mike Plania, 23-1 with 12 knockouts. Then we have San Diego's Giovanni Santillan, 25-0 with 15 knockouts. He will be taking on former world champion Antonio DeMarco. So big test for the San Diego undefeated fighter. Then June 18th, we have former world champion Jose uh, Pedraza. He'll be taking on Miguel Lepierre. And then we have Gabe Flores taking on Jose Reis. That takes place June 18th. And then June 20th, Emmanuel Navarrete, WBO Super Bantamweight champ, the record of 31-1, 27 knockouts. He will be taking on Uriel Lopez in a 10-rounder. So that was slated to take place on this weekend, June the 6th. However, it was pushed back. That was pushed back. And, props to Zanfer for their patience and, just awaiting for the date. Navarrete and his team as well. That takes place on Azteca TV also. That will be, let's see. Originally, that was supposed to take place in a TV Azteca studio. Let's see. Yes. Yeah, this will take place. Yeah, that'll take place in at TV Azteca Studios. Yes. Also in that card, you'll have Carlos Chinito Ornelas, 25-2-0, 14 knockouts. He'll take on Edwin Palomares. Then we also have Sergio Sanchez. He'll be taking on Alan Pina. Also, the ladies, Sylvia Torres. She'll be taking on Edith Flores. That there'll be two more bouts following this card on June the 20th, which is slated to Jaime Munguia, Miguel Berchet, as long as prospects Omar El Pollo Aguilar taking on and then Irvin Turubiates and Rafael Espinosa. Those are fighters that are anticipated returning after June 20th. So stay tuned as we get closer to those dates. We will have more info for you. And on to more programming, more upcoming fights. I believe June 12th, Germany was also ready to open its doors for boxing. They're already slated to return, German promoters. So far, the U.S., Mexico, Germany are on board returning. And then the month of July, we're supposed to have more boxing. PBC is slated to return in the month of July. That's been the word going on for the last month and a half. And then England, they were slated to return in July also. However, more news from England. There was a slated card to take place in Newcastle on Saturday the 27th and in Cardiff on July 11th, and 4th of July at the Manchester Union. Those cards have been postponed, rescheduled. So the subject to the developing situation, Lee Salby, the IBF, former champion, and also he was slated to fight a world title eliminator against George Camboso at the Mortarport Arena in Cardiff, and that's been rescheduled to Saturday, October 3rd. Lewis Ritson was slated to take on former world champion Mexico's Miguel Vasquez at the Tilita Arena in Newcastle. That's been rescheduled to October 17th. So again, Matchroom has rescheduled some of their upcoming fights. Then we have more buzz. We also uh, there are reports that Sergey Derevyanchenko wants to fight Jermall Charlo or Terrell Gache, and he has his set sights on Erickson Lubin. But yet there's nothing to be announced. But maybe that'll be an upcoming fight. So the good thing is boxing is back. There's programming scheduled. There, you know, this is good progress. Slowly but surely, you're going to start to see in the month of July more boxing returning. As I mentioned, July PBC and Matchroom. However, Golden Boy Promotions also is in talks to returning in July. The big buzz has been 4th of July, yet there hasn't been no card, no fighters, nothing announced yet. But that's been the tentative date for Golden Boy Promotions. So as soon as details become available, I'll have them for you. Then you know, we have the issues going on today here in the nation. As most of you have witnessed, the the death of George Floyd last Monday, video that went viral, has caused lots and lots of backlash, as expected. You know, you have many that are out there protesting, many that are out there vandalizing, many that are out there just causing chaos. Am I in uh, am I in favor of the protests? Definitely. Am I in favor of all this chaos and all this looting that's going on? Uh, no, absolutely. I'm not in favor of that. However, you know, when is enough going to be enough? There comes a point where you you start calling for attention. You start to shake these trees, shake a bunch of trees, as the term goes. The phrase goes. In order to get someone's attention, you got to start shaking some trees. However, violence is not the way. But if more and more of these incidents continue to happen in the world, here in the nation, most especially here in the nation, which has been an ongoing issue. I mean, what's to expect? Yes, we can protest. Yes, people can go out there and speak their minds. But it's like me, for example. Let me give a good example, or anyone out there. Have you ever been in a situation where you're just always doing the right thing, always um, doing what's right, the nice guy, the good person. You're always doing that, but it comes to a point where you feel almost you're being taken advantage of because of your kindness, because of doing the right thing. And I think this is probably the case throughout these years. Nothing, nothing gets done. Nothing. There's no change. There's no progress. Every 28 years, something like this happens. I mean, you have the 65, 64, 65 riots. You have the 92 riots, and now 2020. So with that said, when this incident occurred, I was must have been driving somewhere, and the first thing that I thought of was, man, that sucks what happened to this individual. It's not right. But there was just something, something just made me tell my brother. I was actually with my brother, and I explained to him. I said, it's I won't be surprised if a few days from now you hear that Floyd Mayweather is gonna contribute to the George Floyd cause something. I just, I mean, you think about it. George Floyd Mayweather. That's the last name is Floyd. Floyd Mayweather. I mean, that's the first thing that clicked to me. Knowing Mayweather, not personally knowing him, but just knowing um, the acts, his the kind acts that he's done in the past and all. He's this was something that was expected. Believe me. All this stuff that you see on the camera on 24/7, all access and all that. Hey, the guy has to sell, so he's doing what he has to sell, as he said, to be the villain. Yes, to be the villain on camera. Many of us as kids, we watched WWF, or nowadays WWE, and we would see the villains. We would yeah, you would say, you can say it. We would hate these guys. We didn't like them, and that was their role, to be the villain, and that's what Floyd has chosen to be all these years, to be the villain. Not necessarily is he a villain off camera in his personal life. Say what you want about the guy, but he has done a lot of good throughout the years in terms of you know contributing, donating, you name it. Say what you want about what he's done in the past, what has whatever. But when when I thought of this, the first thing I thought of was uh, Chicanito Hernandez. Genaro Chicanito Hernandez was the was the opponent that Floyd Mayweather fought for his first world title. He dethroned El Chicanito by via stoppage. He stopped him. Chicanito at the time was a great champion and will always be a great champion. So Mayweather wins his first world title at 130 against El Chicanito, and then the rest, well, the rest is history. We all know what career Mayweather has. What has he achieved? What he has accomplished? His accolades. Definitely, pound for pound, definitely Hall of Fame material. So years years later, Floyd's already a superstar, making millions, fighting big paydays. Chicanito, on the other hand, has been retired for quite some time. He was diagnosed with cancer, I believe, in the early 2000s. So in 2011, Chicanito Hernandez passed away. I believe, they were setting a they were collecting donations. They were setting some sort of fundraiser for Chicanito, and before you know it, you had Floyd Mayweather go ahead and pay for all the funeral expenses for Chicanito. After all, Chicanito is the man that, as I mentioned, he gave him his first world title crack. And if you know, without Chicanito, there we might not even have a Floyd Mayweather Jr. Maybe we wouldn't have known of this kind act. However, when Floyd did that was a lot. That spoke a lot. I believe he did the same thing for Hall of Famer, former heavyweight champion, Smoking Joe Frazier. If I'm not mistaken, I believe he also paid for that funeral. But Chicanito Hernandez, great guy. May he rest in peace. The first time I met Chicanito Hernandez was at a carnival here in the city of Commerce. It was June of 1995. Yes, it was June of 1995. We had our annual summer carnival here in the city of Commerce. I at the time was a young kid, boxing. I was already reading Ring magazine and La Opinion newspaper. So I was already familiar with the with fighters, their names, and I was familiar with some faces. So as I'm walking by, I see this tall, lanky, güero, blonde guy, sort of, kind of redheaded, but not really. Anyways, see him walking by, and he had a few people. If I'm not mistaken, I believe his brother Rudy was with him. Great trainer, by the way, Rudy Hernandez. I believe he was there with him, and I turned around and I just looked at him like, hey, that guy looks familiar. Is that? I said, is that guy Chicanito? Is that? I thought I've seen him in La Opinion or in Ring magazine, if I'm not mistaken. So I uh, I followed him around, and then one of the guys that was with him, just kept looking at me like, what's this little boy's trip? Like, why is he following us around? Why is he looking at us that way? So there was a gym attendant, um, one of the gym attendants from the city of Commerce, a weightlifter. He uh, he came up to some of the kids and to me as well, and he was like, "Hey, you know, here's guys, come and take pictures, come and get autographs from Chicanito Hernandez." And that's when I was like, I knew it was him. So he went ahead and um, I he signed he I got his autograph. I still have his autograph to this day. I have it stored somewhere. I should have put it back here, but as soon as I find it, I'll make sure I put it up. But I ended up getting his autograph in June of 1995. Actually, the same day that Riddick Bowe knocked out that Cuban guy, Jorge Luis Gonzalez. Yes, I remember because that day I actually had a fight shirt that day. I had a fight shirt. I believe it was Chavez Taylor too. I had it on, and I was walking around. So long and behold, that's when I found out that Chicanito had gotten the fight with Oscar De La Hoya. So hey, even at that point, I was already getting some scoop on who De La Hoya was gonna fight next. So that's that's interesting. That I find that very interesting. I guess it was destined, but that was my experience with Chicanito. And then before you know it, he was actually working out here at our gym doing his strength and conditioning, leading up to the Oscar De La Hoya fight. So that pretty much sums it up. Uh, Again, that was just my brief history with Chicanito Hernandez. And why am I talking about Chicanito? Of course, the whole Floyd Mayweather paying for his funeral, and as I mentioned earlier, Floyd Mayweather, as you all know, he'll be paying for George Floyd's funeral services, and I mean, what a great deed indeed. So, with that said, that does it. We will come back to you next week to talk about the upcoming schedule, give you more in-depth analysis on these fights, these scheduled fights, including the televised portion. Shakur Stevenson, Caraballo, Michaela Mayer. So we'll be providing what analysis, as well as what to expect, what what's gonna what's gonna transpire. So with that said, folks, I am done here. Just want to say goodbye to everybody, and just whatever you do, stay safe out there. Just if there's a curfew, stay inside. Keep following whatever guidelines, whatever measures, COVID measures, whatever is happening. Just stay safe out there. So until then, we will see you next time.